So, welcome to your first session.
Okay.
I hope you're excited. I am curious as to what your answer to the question I had for you is.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's right. Yeah. I did a lot of thinking about it over the past couple of days because it's just, I have a lot of downtime on vacation here. And I think it's weird because when you talk about like what some stuff that's like, on the perfectionist level, stuff that's optimal, you have to ask yourself also like what that actually means. Where if it's like, is the optimal thing what gets you the most damage? Is it gets the stock, or is it what wins you the game?
yeah.
So if it's what wins you the game, I would say that the thing that's well, if it's not what wins you the game, because ultimately what wins you the game is probably what's the most important thing. That's why you're doing it. But ultimately, what's most important for something that I think that when you pick an option, something that fits into your kit, is it something that fits into your plan. So maybe it might not be like this is the thing that gets me the most damage, or this is the thing that gets me the stock instantly, but it plays to your strength. So I'm thinking maybe something along the lines of, say, if you get a grab, one might argue, okay, well, as Fox McCloud, I might want to take up throw onto platform and then get my perfect tech chase. But you see a whole lot of Foxes out there nowadays doing things like backdoor tech chase or like getting like a DI mix up out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not it's better is like kind of irrelevant. It's the fact that they're comfortable doing it and they themselves get the most mileage out of doing it
Yeah. So, how would we describe that as an attribute?
as an attribute.
Yeah, like, so what is, like,
Um,
if we had to, like, put this to, like, because ultimately it is, like, efficiency is an attribute. Um, so if we had to like say that if we had to like boil this down to a word, what would we like, or like a simple concept, what would we call it?
that would be, I guess, what people would refer to as a style or a gameplay, like a game style or like a play style.
Kind of. I
I
would.
see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when people refer to like their comfort options, it usually is like chalked up to some kind of like play style or like preferential difference. I don't really know how else I would describe that.
Okay. So I would say it's knowing yourself.
Hmm.
Like that's it. It's knowing what you're capable of. It's knowing like what skills you've developed and being able to know what that means in relation to the situation you're in. It's not a particularly fancy thing, but can you like look me in the eyes and tell me that that's not something that every single top player in the top 10 has in common?
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. They develop their own. They develop their game plans around what they're good at doing, and oftentimes when you see how do I put this? When you see people talk about people who are good at this game, right? Like top players or whatnot, when people talk about them, it's always with some kind of like attribute. People love oversimplifying it to some level, right? Where it's like, oh, this player is particularly good at like this one thing. Where you have, I've seen people describe Cody as being very good at, for example, at like extending advantages. Where it's just like, okay, his punish game is really like wrapped up, and he's really good at like transforming advantages into like edge guards you can't get out of or things of that nature. But ultimately, the reason he does that probably is because he's really comfortable in picking those kinds of options, right? Like he takes things like I don't I feel like Fox Shine turnaround back air, for example, wasn't as popular as something outside of like a swag option prior to Cody playing a lot at the top level, and where now you see it a lot more. I feel
Yeah,
things
and
of
that,
that nature, and it's because he can do it because he's comfortable doing it.
yeah, and I think that there's certain calculations that like other high level players who have a different approach make, but that still wind up yielding quite powerful plays. Like Cody, Cody is like infamous for his pursuit of perfection, but like if we take a look at say Mango's Fox, which is also excellent, he when he beat Zane, I think in at SmashCon 2022, I want to say. It was either 23 or 22. I don't remember which one, but like he got a lot of like up throw. Like he ended his combos early in a lot of cases with like up smashes and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
with the how the meta was at the time and with how Mango tends to do player versus player matchups, because that's a strength of his, and he's just not quite as good at the like technical execution, like the precision execution as say Cody is. Like in some of those spots, going for like an extension with throw is probably a pretty big risk for him. With how good Zane is at smash DIing out of up throw up air, so consolidating the damage by taking 18 up front then playing the sharking position, which plays to his like skills with his it plays to his scrapping skills. I think that was actually quite savvy of him, and probably won him at least one game. So I think it's like, yeah, it's just a matter of like knowing what you're capable of and being able to accept that, and do the best you can with it. So okay. I would say that I would actually argue that like it is most players don't reach top level by like through pursuing perfection. I would say the more important thing is to be complete. So to be able to play a strategy or your character or both or one or the other depending on the matchup, it varies, but like being able to play in a way that leads to a win, that accounts for the variations and things that the opponent can throw at you, whether that's like leaving those positions so you can look for better ones or fighting your way out of them. Really, it's just you need a way to like get to the finish line, however that may be.
That makes sense. I think Yeah, okay. I tried to phrase it when I came up with my answer. I seem to have phrased it more in terms of comfort, but you seem to. I see. Yeah, because you put a lot more emphasis on the ability to. Let me start over with this explanation actually, because when I described it, I had opened with how you describe perfection, but interestingly, you sidestepped that issue entirely by describing it as like what you actually want is to have something. Like you said, use the word completeness, something rounded, something that, like, you fill all of the niches you need.
Yeah.
And I guess as such, that does make a lot of sense because it does totally sidestep this idea that you have to have every tool. Where it's like, okay, well, you just need the tools that can overlap enough to cover the painting, so to speak.
Yeah, and I mean, like, what player, Armada notwithstanding, what player has ever been number 1 or in the top 10 that had literally every tool that their character does?
Yeah.
Right?
That's true.
Like, it does. Other than Armada, maybe, it doesn't exist. And even then, I'd argue Armada, no, because there were parts of the character he shied away from because he just deemed that they weren't efficient enough. So,
yeah.
There is... I think that this is a game, especially, like, with... This is kind of a silly example, but think about how the characters that have risen on the tier list, not Yoshi notwithstanding, they tend to actually be fairly simpler ones. Like... Donkey Kong and Ganondorf kind of being being reinvigorated a little bit for recently. Those characters are very straightforward. They have limited tools, but this is a game where you can do a lot with a little. So it's not always about being able to do everything. It's about being able to do enough well.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's a pretty good starting point. So talk to me about the Marth matchup. And you mentioned you had some VODs we could look at.
Sure. Yeah. I guess I can start with a little bit of history on me in that matchup, particularly because I think it does hold a special place as a matchup in my heart a little bit, because I would say that Marth was simultaneously my current issue. My first issue when I got into the game in 2013, 2014, and was a strong issue for me for a long time in the middle. Because when I first got into the game, I actually played Puff, and Marth presented a very interesting problem for me as a Puff player, where it was the only person I couldn't outrange with back air. And that
she wasn't invented until many years later. I see.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. She was around, but I feel like
you can cheese her. I get it. It's all good. I'm just being snarky. Don't read into it.
No, it's kind of true though. I talk to Zanya a lot, and we talk a lot about how the modern Sheik is just not the same character.
Mm-hmm. Very
different. But I feel like through the lens of Marth, he actually he's one of those characters, right? Much like Fox in that way, where he kind of has everything he needs to get through pretty much every situation, except the way that you have to do it for Marth and Fox are different, obviously, because their strengths are very literally different. They have all of the ways to cover everything, they just do it differently. So I was used to playing against a lot of spacies. So when I had to come up against this guy who is actually not that fast, but he had this giant sword, it was very weird to me. And the thing that ended up making me understand it a little bit more was about what Marth can actually threaten based on where you are relative to him, and landing behind him a lot more was kind of what clicked for me at the time. Where it was okay, well okay, there we go. Yeah, I can choose where I'm landing in such a way, not that I'm scared of him bursting at me like a fox, or not that I'm scared of a projectile like Falco, but in the way that I can I have to respect more of a bubble than a line. And that at the time that was a big discovery for me, and not that it matters as much later because now I did play a different character.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that Marth is a very common lens for me to engage in problem solving because I engage with him a lot. And then so come 2017 when I go over to college, our best player in Rochester at the time was Pisces, a Marth player. And he was the one that gave me most of my problems for my entire time playing there, pretty much, up until the part where I took a break from the game to focus on school a little bit. But for a few years there, it was very much just like, okay, I can go even with basically everyone else in the room, but then I would go up against this Marth guy, and he'd win 90% of them, 95% of them. So, so ultimately, I think he just kind of had the edge on me for a while, and it was kind of shaky because I eventually had gone to focus more on school, and then life stuff happened, and then he graduated, so I didn't have to deal with him anymore. But so a lot of that Marth stuff kind of went left unchecked, where it was like I never really figured him out. So now, fast forward to now, I am trying to spend more time playing the game, just because I have the opportunity, and it fills a role in my life that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I am back in Tri-State, and there's a bunch of these guys, these big sword-holding guys, and I keep running into them. It's that character that's giving me some issues, and it's Peach right now. It was Falco when I first got back, but I think I did a lot of study on that, and I figured some stuff out about that helped me a lot in understanding how to actually play against that character. But
Cool.
as of
So,
right now,
what did you learn?
about Falco?
Yeah.
With Falco, I think I learned it's a lot about being willing to play on his terms sometimes, because oftentimes I see a character with a projectile, and I think of other fighting games often, and you often want to deny them their projectilism in some way, where I'm like, okay, well, I play against some zoner in some other game, and it's all about like making sure they can't get situated, get set up. And while it is annoying for Falco to get set up, once he does, you kind of have to play his game a little bit, or at least I wasn't able to play his game, such that he would snowball on me pretty hard. So like he'd shoot like 5 or so lasers from under battlefield platform, and I'd feel the need to jump to top plat or full hop at him like every single time, and it made him not have to fear me at all. So it became more about like, okay, how can I position myself through his stuff and like try and make myself comfortable with the idea of taking a few lasers for the sake of positioning, as opposed to trying to eject myself from the situation every time.
Yeah, that tracks with what I understand about the matchup too. Falco's kind of like there's kind of a universal method, I think, for most characters for like fighting him, and that basically describes it. So good on that. How do you find platforms? Like you mentioned that you go to the top platform, but like what do you feel about going onto the side platform above him? Like if you can somehow get on there safely, I feel like that's usually a good spot to look for.
Yeah, that is one of my methods, or like it continues to be one of my methods, but it was one of my primary methods before I felt a little bit more comfortable scrapping with them on the horizontal plane too, where I very often do it, and if we watch this Marth set, you'll actually notice it's one of my default habits is to jump to the platform above someone, because as it turns out, if a fox is 45 degrees above you on a platform, it's very hard to deal with them, no matter who you are. So it's like, with Falco specifically, I would go up there, and we would often end up in a position where Falco is directly below me.
Yeah, and you just like murder him. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's a little scary though, because I felt like Falco has the opportunity to stop me from getting there at all, right? Like try and wall. But at the same time, if he's committing to laser, we don't have to worry about that much if you already know that. But
Right. So
the
it's a
thing
mix-up.
oftentimes I find myself in a position to get is like full hop shined, or like shine onto the platform waveland, or sometimes he'll like wait and then up tilt below the platform, and I'll just fall into it like an idiot, or things of that nature. So it's a good position, but I find myself if I find myself going to it too often and almost feeding them enough information about what I'm going to do off of this platform, it starts to lose effectiveness. So
Well,
I
I
try
mean,
to like
it's a
preserve it a little
mix-up.
bit.
Well, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
mix-up system, right? Like, because you say like, what if he like full hops up like with shine or something? I'm like, well, we can just dash away or something on that play.
Yeah.
We're much faster than him, so like if we dash away into like shield drop back air away from him, then we probably just outrange him straight up. And then similarly, like what if he like goes for up tilt and delays? I mean, like we can just leave the platform away from him, like shield drop down to the ground, and then we're all of a sudden next to him on the ground. So we have like the threat of like our grab on the next play. We can down tilt him, we can up smash him, we can up tilt him. Like we have so many scary things that we can murder him with. And we could also just like timing mix up him in response, like just like dash dance a bit before going for the shield drop back air or dare or whatever we're doing. So it's not like there's plenty of options on Fox's side here. I agree that it's not like a solved position. Like it's not the type of spot where you go to and it's like the I win button. But I feel like we have the entire stage behind us to DI, whereas he has like significantly less by comparison. So that's kind of, it's one of the strengths of the position. There's also like, there's things that work for us here. But yeah, I can understand the desire to preserve, like to not go there, because I don't think it's the strongest spot in the matchup anyway. I just was curious about what you thought of it.
Yeah, I think also what's interesting is that this conversation, like this direction of the conversation, also you're picking at an important thing I've noticed about myself somewhat recently, and that's I think it's becoming more relevant now, but for a long time it's definitely been true that I have a pretty bad habit mentally of kind of underestimating the potency of my own tools. Not in the way that I think they're bad, because I really do think my character is really good. That's why I play them. But I underestimate the fear that they induce often. Where I'll be next to Falco, and through my head I'm thinking about all the ways Falco can come hit me and then get his punish game started. But I'm not really thinking about how afraid the Falco probably is of the stuff I have. So in my brain, it immediately starts to like slant a little bit, where my decisions are a little bit more ruled by thinking this guy is scarier than I am, when even though that's not necessarily really the case.
Well,
I have just as much to hit him with too. It's just in my brain, I'm like, this guy hits hard.
He does, and I mean, like, one thing I'd kind of comment on that is, I don't think you're wrong to put the slant there, because Fox is usually the most fragile character on the screen, no question about it. So there is an increased need for safety on your end. I think we can acknowledge that. But how much of an increased need?
Yeah, you can't overdo it.
Yeah, you can't be like, okay, 100% safety, because then you don't do anything.
It's known to happen. There are times in my sets sometimes, not that I camp or something, but I have the way I play a lot of neutral interactions is that I'll tend to wait to try and figure out like what the pattern of what they're doing is, and I'll try and just like suddenly pick at something that I notice. So with Marth, for example, you'll notice me stand there, dash dance, and pretty much in a do-nothing position for a little bit while I let Marth swing around, because every swing he does is a little bit of data for me to act on in a couple of interactions.
Ooh, I think I can already see where the problems are going to be, I think. But
yeah.
I think, you know what? Don't tell me what you think. Don't tell me them. Let's see if we can figure, like, let's see if we just can spot them. Do you have those games that we can look at? Because I'm now very interested to see how this looks.
Yeah, sure. I have some. Unfortunately, I was looking this morning. The one that I really wanted to look at, which was like I would say a good set from both of us, I just kind of lost. I could not get, because that was the one VOD they decided not to upload, and it's lost to the Twitch sands. But I can pull one recently where it was okay. It was me versus Acidics at this region, at this monthly. How do you want to do this? You want me to send it to you? Want me to stream it?
Send it to me and I'll drive. That's fine.
Sure. Okay. And I'll pull up the timestamp too. I'm in here somewhere.
Usually it's like a second session that I let them drive, so
makes sense.
We will stick with tradition today.
This is doubles. Oh, there. First set. Yeah, then it's hand warmers. Okay, yeah. So this is the first. Here you go.
Perfect. And when you fight Sheik, if you don't mind me asking, I know we were talking about Marth, but when you fight Sheik, do you try to like, what spacing do you try to keep as a default versus her?
Oh man, Sheik is probably my most like evolved matchup over the past year, because I play with Zanya literally constantly. Mm-hmm. I would say my favorite range versus Sheik is like 1.5 Fox down tilts.
Okay, so like outside her, a little bit further than outside her forward tilt and short up fair forward zone, basically.
Yeah, it gives me a little bit of space where I feel like when I stand in that range, Sheiks like to engage in a dash dance mix up a little bit, where it's like, okay, am I going to overshoot something? Am I going to, right? So one of us kind of has to either overshoot something or put something out, and the interaction is bound to end very soon because the moment one of us does something, it is liable to. Yeah, I feel like this set was at least somewhat poorly played by the both of us in some ways, but I think a lot of stuff here is somewhat representative of the options that I select anyway, regardless if I hit them or not.
We didn't need to double jump here. Like, he's just within full hop. You see that, right?
Yeah.
So why did that double jump cost us? Because we could have we could have aerialed again after this back here, if we landed faster.
I see. Yeah.
So that's like that's a small thing. It's just I caught it like immediately. So this is an interesting run forward from the corner, because we're like in the corner and we're like dash dance. Like Marth is like possibly able to dash like hit us. So why are we shielding here? What do you think? What do you think happens here?
Well, looking at the ranges now, he hits the shield with a tipper version of whatever aerial comes out, and I don't really get anything out of it.
So what were you trying to do? Because like he did lean full forward, so.
Yeah. So my thought process is that I see him. This happens a lot with Marth, where he'll enter the air here and then like do like a little bit of a wait, like kind of react to me running in, and I'm hoping I can get in the position enough where I can shield right up in his face and then make the spacing bad. But whether or not that's actually successful is a little bit up in the air often.
Okay, so
this happens a lot with me. You'll notice I try to stand right outside of this forward air range and down tilt it or something, or I'll try and run and shield, and oftentimes I don't really get anything out of it.
What's interesting to me is we have the option to dash dance here, and I don't know why we're not like using the second or third, the second best, if not best, dash dance in the game versus like the second or best dash dance in the game. Like, so let me walk you through it. So we started the dash here, so our initial dash goes to about here, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And if we trot, it's a little bit further. Trot's probably like here.
Mm.
Okay, cool. So where does his fair hit again? You'll need to help me out here. Like if we put this circle, like I know it's not the full circle, but where's like where would be like the curve of his blade?
Probably like pretty much right at the tip of the first line, I think. The bottom line, rather.
Cool, so we'll do it like this. So let me just clean this up a bit real quick, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to ask you, I have some questions for you, because like I want to know what we do here. So where can we be in relation after Marth misses fair? Because if we're shielding it, and he does the low fair in general, is the shine out of shield after ever guaranteed?
With the lowest fair possible.
Yeah, like if he just like jumps here and like descending fairs and hits us right before right before he lands, because he could do that. Like that's a common thing that they do, like timing it to like swing in that way. Even if we do get the spacing we're looking for here with it, do you think is that ever guaranteed to just like connect on him?
I don't think so. I think forward air is better than -4, -5 ish.
Yeah, so it's so it would be 4 that he'd need. Forward, even sour spot forward tilt. Sorry, sour spot fair, like soft fair, is -1 at worst, I believe, at full power.
Okay.
And then tipped fair, I believe, goes up to, because I think he's like 7 frame L cancel, so, and then 6. Yeah, so it's +/-0.
Sure. Okay.
So should we be looking for like an out of shield punish on something that is +/-0 as our go-to option?
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, that seems a little weird, because like you see, like the other thing to remember here is that like this, like let's say Marth lands here, like he doesn't land exactly like in range of us, and we do our shield like around here. So we're not going to hit him with shine out of shield because again shields are bigger than us. So we're like here. How do we get out of shield here? Like if Marth dashes back, like just because we can't shield grab him clearly. Like if he goes to about here with his dash back, or just like dashes back and sets up dash dance like in like kind of like this area, like at that distance, how do we get out of shield exactly?
So if I don't know if this is a good answer, but if I were in this position, right, again, and I was in this shield, and I know in my brain, I'm like, I can't shine this, I can't grab it, and he's going to dash back, I would wave dash forward.
Okay.
And then try and chase the dash back if I know he's going to do it.
So, okay, so we basically have to read that he's doing a dash back, because we can't like. And we know that we're also accepting that we're playing a losing interaction there because he's actionable when he's dash dancing, whereas we are not when we're wave dashing forward. So we're relying entirely on the surprise of the situation to get him. And this is our go-to play.
Mm-hmm.
I see structural problems here.
Right, yeah.
Like, I'm not saying this can't ever work, but you see what I'm getting at. Like, this is like a...
Yeah, no, for sure. I think a lot of my... This is not an uncommon trend with a lot of my gameplay where this happens, where I'll build something and I'll just decide to go 90 layers deep into some interaction, relying on like a read to get there, as opposed to picking something like, a little bit more structurally sound, as you put it.
Yeah, so like I would say a simple solution here is like cut off your dash here and dash the other way.
Okay.
Because you see, we're like avoiding the fair. We're moving in the other direction. We're like, we can cut off our dash whenever we want, but I would probably say that we want to like dash dance close to him, so maybe here, because we can agree that even if he goes full forward here, he doesn't hit us at this line. Maybe it's a little bit, maybe it's slightly further back. Why did it do that? No, internet thingy, don't do that. Okay, no, that's too far. Let's move this like just about here. Yeah, I think this makes sense. And it's like a little bit, it's slanted a bit because of like how he like falls. But like we can agree that he doesn't hit us here unless he like does something, unless he like no fast falls or something. And we can react to that, so that's fine. But by doing this, what do you think, do you see any advantages to kind of like playing this way as opposed to like trying to bulldoze in with shield?
Right, okay. So you may... I think one of the things about bulldozing of a shield, so to speak, is that oftentimes... okay, I know how I'm going to phrase this. The thing about bulldozing of a shield, so to speak, is that it works against Marths who are not good at doing that falling, and that's why I have the habit, right? Where it's like, okay, I've seen success doing this because I'll be able to shield grab some poorly spaced forward air. Obviously, that is not reliable. However, notably, that is my solution to not being able to, or finding myself unable to get a punish in the dash dance way, right? Where say I'm playing against a worse Marth with worse forward airs, I would be dash dancing and he would do a landing forward air and I wouldn't be able to get a direct punish. However, on the shield I would. But obviously as the Marth gets better, that's not the case anymore. So now I'm back to...
You can't punish an approaching from Marth forward air at this distance when he misses like here?
I don't feel like I can often reliably. Why not? Because it's often like subject to... I guess if I already know he's drifting in, I could probably make it happen. But if I don't know the drift, I feel like I'm giving it enough respect such that it's hard to like really get.
But we know the drift because we wouldn't be doing bulldoze in with shield if he was drifting away, because we've established we have to get point blank for that to work.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I guess so. I guess the other part of that equation is also that this is true for both options. But in my head, I think even if he drifts in a different direction, the shield is still safe and takes some space. Such as the dash dance also remains safe because you're not getting hit, right? If you're respecting the full drift in and he decides to drift back, you're not losing anything. It's just... Yeah, no. In this case, the dash dance probably, like, obviously strictly better, but I often do it simply because I'm trained to do so. I feel like this is probably something I'm quite poor at, is I feel like I don't get this punish like reliably because of drift differences, and thus I mentally kind of like throw the whole tree out.
Yeah, so I would say let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So we can agree that Marth probably moves in like roughly this arc if he like doesn't fast fall, right? If he does fast fall, it's like somewhere between these 2 points.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me just make this a little brighter so we have it. So here's my question here. So you're saying we go in with shield because like it gives us like outcomes versus like other things. But here's my counter argument. We don't have to. The cool thing about dash dancing is we don't actually have to just dash dance because we're fully actionable the entire time through it. It's one of its primary strengths. What if we full hop? Like what if we full hop here instead? So we go like this.
Right. You lock yourself into a bit of an arc unless you decide to retreat to something like the platform.
Well, no, I'm saying we attack him because if like I'm saying we like I'm saying we go onto his head and full hop near him, or like go behind him and back here like around here.
This happens a couple times in this very set, I think, actually.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is let's formalize, but like, how would he defend against this back air? He would he would drift, right? He would have to like change how he's doing his drift. Well, guess what? Our dash dance is really good at dealing with.
Yeah, right. I see.
Because it forces like we're creating offensive options that work together, basically. The problem with shield is that I don't actually think that like you're saying that if he drifts away, it still forces the issue. Like, it still earns you some space. I am saying it does not, because you have to, like, if he falling fares, like, drifting away from you, he is going to be, like, what, -1, -2, -3, depending on how he does it. But you still have to jump out of shield, which takes a heck of a lot longer than 3 frames for you to, like, from going up and down. Or wave dash, which also takes a heck of a lot more than 3 frames till you're actionable. You do not earn anything here if the Marth, like, you do not earn anything here, in my opinion, off shield.
Right.
The shield only work if shield works, it works. But if it doesn't, you are putting yourself in a bind.
Yeah.
Like
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really the weakness of this as a strategy. Like, what we're doing is we're basically going for an all-in on his drift and timing, and we haven't even, and like we're less than 10 seconds. Well, okay, we're like slightly more than 10 seconds in.
Right.
Like, you see my concern.
I think it makes sense that, like, now that I think about it, that when I do it, it's one of those things where I think I almost subconsciously decided this is what I'm going to start doing because it comes out with a consistent result regardless of the drift. The result isn't good. But so that's obviously why I shouldn't be doing it. But probably the reason my brain latched onto it at the time was because, like, oh, this is consistent. It's consistently mediocre, but it's consistent.
Yeah, exactly. And no, I get that, because that's like every character has crutch moves like that. It's like when Sheik's forward tilt and stuff like that. It's the same idea, because it's like, I know this isn't the right move here, but like, I don't know what else to do. So what I'm saying is we need to be more comfortable playing with his sword distance. Like, we're wave dashing down in place. In my opinion, you should be like wave dash down in place, like the Lucky or whoever the heck popularized it. It's so bad. Like, I cannot emphasize. Okay, I've gone back too far. So this is whatever. My bad. So this is the match. Cool. So wave dash down in place, I cannot emphasize enough just how bad it is in terms of like a movement setup. Because like, what do we gain here that we would not gain from simply dash dancing here? Like, even if we just do it in place, we're still more actionable that entire time, whereas this is not. So we are just like, we're wasting frames essentially to do something that I don't even see what we get here. Like, if he does anything but this wave dash down, like this wave dash forward, or wave dash back, or whatever it was, like, we are, which way did he go? I'm gonna assume that, okay, so he fared. Oh, he fared into down tilt, I see. Like, we're not even able to, like, punish this, like, we're not able to punish that down tilt that missed in front of us because we're committing to something that's so just inefficient compared to our other tools. So, what I'd recommend is, I get the feeling that you're going for options that are kind of call-outy because they're easy to, like, kind of, like, confirm when you've got them. But, like, the thing that got you the stock, let me see how you got that up smash.
Oh, super lucky on this one.
It still ultimately was a dash dance. Like, you wave dash down, but then you still had to move. So I don't see what, like, the wave dash down is, like, contributing here.
Right. Yeah, I think in my brain, what I'm looking for when I do it is to stop right in front of an aerial so I feel like I can whiff punish it. Where I'm like, but like, obviously that doesn't actually matter because you can do it still, again, while moving if you just adjust the timing a little bit.
Yeah, just speed up here.
Yeah.
And we didn't get, this wasn't true either.
It wasn't even true, yeah.
But this is something I want to point out about Marth. His shield flashed, and then it looked like he went for something. Like, probably, well, actually, it might have shield poked him. I know that YouTube isn't 60 FPS usually, so this might have been just, this could have been he jumped, like, he went for a wave dash. It could have been he went for spot dodge and we got him on the vulnerability frame. But, like, it could have been a million things, but Marth doesn't have one frame options in general upon landing except for basically shield. So that should also be giving you, like, that should also be a consideration in terms of, like, how we go for things. Because, like, yeah, what if we just do something that's safe into shield? What if we do grab? Like, you know what? These are why people go for these kinds of, like, setups versus Marth in general.
Right.
Let's talk about shield pressure quickly.
Sure.
So, actually, no. You thought he missed. You were trying to react to his landing. Okay, never mind. That one's fine. So what is, like, so this guy, you're up a stock. What's your plan here for, like, okay, so never mind, we're dead. But when you have the lead, what are you usually trying to do against this guy?
Against this guy in particular, against Marth, or in general?
Against Marth.
Marth. Force him to do, like, how I went for that, like, that full hop drill earlier. I want to force him to try and catch me, such that I can, like, I'm not trying to run away and have him catch me in that way, but in the sense that, I want to make him have to exert some stage control.
Okay.
Such that I can catch him for trying to do so. Like, so it's like that full hop drill that caught his nair, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it feels, at least to me, a little bit more potent, because when I have the lead, it gives a motive force for him to do something.
Okay, so we just saw him whiff down tilt underneath us when he was messing around here. So I'm thinking, like, we were already in shield drop stance. Like, this looks like a back air to me.
Right.
But what I notice is we back off. So I'm just trying to figure out what are the types of openings you're looking for that indicate that you're supposed to be going for hits. Because I'm not, like, what do you consider an opening on Marth?
Let's see. I guess percent dependent also, but
like, would you go for back air in that last spot, like the one that I?
So when I think about that last spot, I think in a situation like this, I see the down tilt come out, and then I see he's actionable before I'm ready to react. So I'm afraid if I go down for back air, I'm going to get clipped by, like, up tilt or something.
Okay.
I think that's my thought process in that zone. In here, I'm shielding because I'm afraid of getting hit, and he puts out that down tilt, and then by the time I notice that down tilt came out, I'm like, all right, well, he's already actionable. So in my brain, I'm like, this is essentially an even interaction. And I'd rather not fall into it because I feel like every Marth and their mother likes to up tilt here.
Okay, fair enough. So if that's the case, why are we going to top platform then?
I'm afraid I'm going to get clipped if I go off the left side, so I just go left, but safer, so to speak.
Okay, so let's draw Marth's up tilt hitbox. Where does Marth's up tilt hit?
Just like around the top of him, but like a little bit more tall than it is wide.
Okay, cool. Yeah, more tall than wide. So probably like here.
I believe something like that. Maybe a little bit more so in the back.
Okay.
Yeah, like that. I think in my brain I'm afraid of him turn around up tilting, but I'd like obviously that takes more time. So you know,
what if we just
probably should only be.
What if we wave dashed forward, and then just fell off over here?
Yeah, could probably do. I think in a subconscious way, I'm afraid of this because I'm afraid of getting clipped anyway. But like in an empirical way, obviously that wouldn't hit me. So
yeah. So what I'm trying to do is, what I think the key here is, we need to start feeding your brain information about like what things actually happen, like what things actually will work and not work. So in these situations, at these spacings, so that your subconscious can start to recognize when you're in them and do other things. Because there was no, like, going to the top platform here is such a throw. Like, it's like I don't want to, like, I don't normally get to say like things like that are that extreme, but like it's such a throw because we have the option to like hit him to start, and I would argue that like we actually are completely fine with him up tilting here, because we could also do the short hop around it, like try to catch the timing, like short up here, fast fall through here. And then like drill or back air or whatever. And then if we hit that, that's like an immense amount of advantage that we gain, especially on like if we get like drill grab or something. Like, we have so much potential for damage here, and we're just like completely ignoring it. Like, because we're just so worried about getting hit. But like the thing is, we're like Fox at 157. Like, we've already gotten tons of value out of a stock. I'm not saying we throw it away, but I feel like we should be much more willing to like bait him on the basis of how much he wants to kill us than we are currently doing. Like there's a reason like we are not making him have to face the Marthritis because all we're doing is running away from him. We're never challenging him.
I'm kind of just I'm giving him like way too much just for the sake of like because I'm afraid of Big Sword Man.
Yeah, and like look at these wave dashes down. Like why like we kill our ability to interact with this Nair in a more meaningful fashion. Like we're not even close to him.
Right.
And why do we air dodge like that high? Like what? Because the like the thing is here, I kind of get it because like we're high up, but like why don't we up B or something? Like we have,
yeah, up B is probably smarter. In my brain, I thought he was gonna jump up air, so I tried to air dodge left. But yeah.
What I notice is that you think people are gonna do things a lot, and then they never do those things.
Yes, correct.
Like,
and this does call back a little bit to our conversation. When we first started talking about this, I had mentioned that I run into a lot of situations where I try to play some kind of mix-up or something, and it's just they don't have to engage with it at all, or like they don't have to they don't actually end up doing any of the things that I'm looking for. So I feel like sometimes my reads are like a crapshoot. And it's because I engage with them in this way, where it's just like I don't actually gain that much off of any other outcome besides for the one I specifically was hoping for.
Right, and I feel like this up throw backer is a perfect example. Riddle me this. Are you doing this because you think he'll smash GI the up air?
I mean, let me look at it. This one? No, I wanted reverse back air on that.
Okay.
Like that, and then obviously I went for it again, and then I just missed the hitbox.
Okay, cool. So fair enough, but what if we just up aired? Because, like, I get what you're saying. Like, reverse... What do we get after the reverse back air here? And I'll agree this is a good position for reverse back air, but walk me through the what comes next. So you hit him this way, like over here. What happens next?
It depends where he goes. Sometimes they go down, like so such that they're holding out or maybe holding down if they're weird, and then I get grab. But oftentimes it just ends up being up tilt.
Okay. What if we up air?
If we up air,
let's assume he doesn't smash DI because like I get that nothing happens if he does, but fine. So fine.
Yeah.
But like, what if we like pop him up here?
He either goes left or right. If he goes left onto the top plat, I get another hit. If he goes right, I also get another hit. But if he goes left towards the top plat, I could potentially even kill, depending. But chances are, I usually, if in a situation like this, they DI out, and I take like up air, back air, and then they're off on the right side of the off stage.
Yeah.
I don't think double up air kills here, so I would take the back air secondly. I could double up air, but then he gets to play some drift downward mix-up involved. But obviously, it's not a good position for Marth. So
yeah, I'd say that's like all of these things sound extremely good for us, like just generally speaking. Okay. So, I'm not saying it's better than a back air up tilt here. I am saying that it should be on the table.
Mm.
Because the other thing is back air up tilt doesn't really have a I just automatically take the stock condition when they go up here.
True.
Whereas, like, because back air up tilt basically always just, like, leads to kind of the same things. And the other thing about back air is that, like, I'm not convinced that we just, like, get a shine if they go over here. If you, like, I'm not convinced that we always just get a shine. Like, are you thinking weak back air, or is this strong back air?
I'm thinking strong, like, reverse back air.
Okay, cool.
Strong just, like, thigh hit back air. And then oftentimes, because I'm about to land on it, it's like, I might get like an up tilt because it'll have like a little bit more hit stun than just getting the weak one.
Yeah, no. Okay, cool. So we're at least doing the right back here. This is good. This makes sense. Like this play, now that we've kind of mapped it out a bit, the back air definitely like it is good. So he basically from the position he's hit, which is about here, because he would actually fall a bit. So he basically kind of goes what like here, like here.
Yep.
Okay. And is this the natural trajectory, or do you think this is the natural trajectory? Because I think the natural trajectory is here.
Yeah, it's like in the middle. Yeah, it's like that.
Okay, cool. You probably get the shine. Actually, yeah, no, I would agree. You get the shine. I'm just not convinced it's better than just like hitting him again, because the shine to me in this from this height, we're not really in a good position to edgeguard after hitting it, and I think that's my problem with it because we have to like jump for it, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
And then he just goes low, and then he has his jump and stuff still, and then side B still, so it's not like an easy edge guard. I do see the appeal, though. I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. But that's what I don't like, that I have to think about it. Like,
Yeah.
after the up air, we just get stuff. And, like, like assuming it works, we just get stuff. And I think we need more of that in our life. Like, you had runway.
That was up throw. That was absolutely up throw.
Like, we even had runway here. Like, ah. But Ted,
I think that one was just a misinput. Love that.
okay, I'll accept this. But we're like, why are we scrapping with Marth when he's like already in neutral? Like, why are we wave landing forward? Like, I think that what I think we need is we need to just be in control of our character way more than we are. Like the biggest thing that I am seeing here is that we are just giving up control of our character to do like inefficient movements. He's not a wave dash character. He doesn't have to, like, because he's better than that. Of the three main like primary like fighting styles in this game, like that use wave dashing, either the air or dash, wave dashing is by far the weakest. Like, it's not even close. The other two are way better, and that's why they're, like, almost every single top tier can do at least one of them, if not both. It's like... Right. And what we are doing is we are playing this character like he's Samus. Like, no. Hit, like... We are trying... Like, why are we guessing with Fox? Like...
Right.
Like, and I get he has to sometimes, but, like, these are spots where we absolutely do not have to. Like, why are... okay, so the biggest thing here is let's play closer to Marth in general. Like, if he's on a grounded position, like, let's define some spacings. Because I think more than anything, this will be helpful. So, assuming that you're in neutral with this guy, like, both of you are 0-0, we'll pretend he's not doing side B. How close do you think you want to be to him, generally speaking?
How close do I want to be, or how close should I be? Should. I guess both.
I guess I'm gonna say should, but like in general, I think that you should want to be in the spot that's good for you. But yeah, for now we'll go with should.
If I had to like guess, ideally probably right outside whatever his longest sword move is, which is like F smash. So probably right outside that.
Why F smash? I know it's his longest move, like, we've established that, but, like, why are we worried about F smash? Is like, does it kill us all the time? Like, if it hits automatically or something?
Good chance it does at this percent, at least.
Yeah, so, like, but, like, I just mean in general, like, if we think about what Marth here, my very nice drawing, where should...
The white space makes him look very sad. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, so like if we are Fox and he's got his big sword, where do we want to be in relation to him? Like, where would you say his forward smash hits? If we draw the range horizontally with this nice gray line, how far does he hit us from?
I mean, probably a little bit more than the sword is right now, right? Because he leans forward a little bit. I wouldn't say that far. Maybe even cut the distance between it and the sword tip right now in half.
Like
something like that.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So I would agree with that. So I'm thinking, but like of the moves that he's doing, why don't we want him to forward smash?
Why don't we want him to?
Yeah, because if we're playing outside of the range of forward smash, then he's not going to.
Right. I guess so. I think I perceive this as being a safe range to play in, so I simply, quote, play in it until I find, like, quote, a mistake. But obviously he's not going to commit to something super, super stupid unless I make him or get a little closer.
Yeah, so maybe we can accept that forward smash being his longest ground move, and I'd actually argue it's his dash attack that's his longest ground move, but, like...
I didn't think about that, true.
Yeah, because that's the Mewtwo King, right? So...
Yeah, I mentally consider dash attack as, like, catching my dash dance kind of option. But I guess it's all in the same.
Well, yeah, like, isn't forward smash the same thing, though?
In some way, yeah. It's true.
Yeah, so with that in mind, I think we can agree that this is a little too... Like, being over here is a little too far. So how much closer can we get? Let's think of a different move. What moves would he go for even if we're in range of them?
What would he go for even if we were in range of them?
Yeah.
Like, if I were in the range of that F smash anyway, what would he do?
Yeah.
I would expect. Usually, I feel like when I'm in that range of Marths, they start trying to play some like weird dash dance grab game, where they do like a smaller dash dance and try and like catch me trying to swing something.
Yeah. So if we what's his run dash jump cancel grab range? Probably hits like where? Like maybe here.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is so maybe playing. So we know we can't get that kills us instantly, like a lot of the time. So we know that we probably can't get close to that. Like this is a big no-no move. But so we now have like we now have some new givens. This is good. We are developing a system. So we know we can't be closer than like we really shouldn't get too much closer than this. Because grab is only out for a bit, like we can probably play like maybe within the range, but like just barely. We definitely don't want to be closer than this. What do you think of playing in this range, like with this at the front of our dash dance? Because remember, dash dances are always between 2 points because we have the front of it and the back of it. So how this would look is that you, being orange, would basically be operating between this space.
I was just going to ask that when you say playing within this range, do you mean maintaining that range, or do you mean threatening to be in it?
Yeah, so kind of like threatening, threatening to be in it, and the spacing, the real spot you're maintaining is this center line, because this is your forward and back.
Right, correct. Yes. Okay.
So does this make sense, or does like this seem like nope, like I don't like it, we're not about it? Like give me what is your reaction?
I think it makes sense. I think I would have to sit down with a controller to really be like, okay, I like this, or okay, I don't like this. But off the top of my head, I can see myself finding it scary, but oftentimes being afraid of being in a situation isn't really like, I'm going to die here, and it's a little bit more like I don't really understand how to play it yet. So I think I would need some time to sit down with like a Marth and try playing in that range a little bit more, and then if that fear goes away, that means I understand it more, and if that fear doesn't go away, it means something's wrong. But I think conceptually on paper, I think I like it. Like I think it's fine.
Okay.
I do like. Obviously, my brain is yelling at me a little bit, like, "Oh, don't run at the potential sword hit. Don't do it." But like at a certain point, like you kind of have to be there at sometimes.
Yeah.
Like in order to make any game progress.
Yeah. Like so, the way that Marth works as a character, like I'm gonna let you in on the secret. There's two. Marth is the god of neutral because he only plays one position well, but it's the best position in the game. It's mid-range. Mid-range, yeah. Marth beats every single character in this game, except for maybe Yoshi, but that's more of like Yoshi's like just cheats versus him. Marth beats every normal character, and most of the fake ones, at mid-range straight up. There is not a single character in the game that doesn't have like weird magic superpowers that deny him like that just turn this position off, like Yoshi or something. Where Marth does not have advantage here. Mm-hmm. This is because he has a giant sword and super speed. Now, yes. This is a very good combination of things to have. However, there comes a cost. Marth is not good at finishing, so. Even though he works the natural advantage states in the game more effectively than any character, because he can do knockdown, he can play knockdown well, he can play juggle state well, he can play edgeguard well. He doesn't have a defined like kill setup in most cases, and if he does, they're usually conditional. So there's counterplay at every level of the matchup, generally speaking, unless you're just like unless he's accrued enough advantage that you're just dead. But usually he doesn't just delete like grab and delete you at 90, the way that like say Fox or Sheik or Falcon might. So the cool thing about him is that he's also really bad up close. And he doesn't have a projectile or any sort of full screen presence, so he's also really bad far away. So the idea behind a lot of what you do versus Marth is as a character like Fox, who is very good at both of those things, you are trying to use the distance, like the game that you have all the way over here, and the game and like your powerful speed as a way to get to the good stuff, which is right on top of him.
Yes.
You see how that works, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. So this is what do you now see the structural problem with all the reads we're doing in neutral with wave dashes.
Right, yeah.
Because
it doesn't actually make any like it doesn't actually like do any service for me to get into the position I want to be in because I'm playing the positions he's good in anyway.
Yeah, we're
like I'm not actually making progress.
Yeah, because the thing about dash dancing, if we think about a different dash dance box like elsewhere, like we'll use a different color for this one, yellow. Like this would be like oh, I'm on arrow. Oopsie. Let's do this. So let's make like a longer one because like Fox's trot goes pretty far. So if we're like, yeah, if we're like a dash, it's actually further than this, like probably about here. But you see what I'm getting at. Like if we're using lasers and things like that and like playing a more conservative distance, we're now creating an incentive for him to come forward. Because he can't just simply take laser damage forever. I'm not saying we want to fire tons of lasers, but like even Cody finds time to just like shoot the odd one versus Zane here and there, right? So, and the purpose of that laser is that it forces Marth to make it to interact with us on some level if he's tied with us or if we're ahead. So what this does is if he's coming forward and we also move forward effectively, that is a way that we can move into close range where we're very strong. But if we're like doing wave dashes and stuff, which we do at this kind of distance, we are lingering, we are committing, which allows him time, even if he doesn't want to directly punish us, to reestablish his footing in mid-range. And now all of a sudden our game is unsafe again.
Okay, it's allowing him time to stop us from breaking through into between those two ranges.
Indeed, it is committing. We are the more flexible character because we have more tools, and we are committing to actions that do not allow us to use our variety to our advantage and break parity. That is the problem here.
I see. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think that, like, this is gonna... So, I'm gonna be upfront with you. This is gonna be a big overhaul of your game versus this character, and probably a bunch of other characters, because I imagine you likely have other, similar structural things versus other characters that operate with similar, like, defined, like, very powerful tools that we just want to avoid. I would imagine this is probably a thing that happens versus Peach, maybe not to this degree, but maybe, like, in some capacity.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, 100% correct. That's, like, the other character I struggle with regularly.
Yeah, and it's probably...
Yeah, correct, absolutely correct. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but, like, this is the thing. Like, this is a structural problem. So, like, there's not going to be... So, I'll be honest with you. There's probably not going to be much of, like, worth in this match just because this is going to require a lot of fixes because we're just, like... our understanding of the matchup and what we're supposed to do was just fundamentally not, like, aligned with what our actual goals are. This is okay. Sometimes we just don't get it right with how we understand something. But the cool thing here is this also means that there's a lot of potential to grow quickly in this matchup. Because once you start doing, like, you've learned other matchups before to, like, a high level. And think about Sheik, because you said that's your most developed one. Once things started falling into place, the improvement was fast, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is what you have to look forward to versus Marth, but we really have to stop being afraid of him.
Yes, okay. I think, no, that definitely makes a lot of sense. The way I play against Sheik now versus the way I played against Sheik like a year and a half ago, essentially totally different. But like obviously for the better, right? I don't perceive that to be a bad thing. It's just you got to learn a lot. It's how it is.
You know what?
Yeah, okay.
We at least you had a plan because even if it's a wrong plan, at least then we have a basis for understanding our interactions versus the opponent's character and what's not working. Because if it's just vibes, it's so much harder to work with that when you have structural problems. Because they're like, but no, this is good. And it's like, oh my god. That's never happened. I'm not naming names.
I see. Never.
Yeah. No, I think that, like, actually, okay, some vibes players are very difficult to work with when there's that. But if they're willing to, like, just try it and give it a whirl, if they can somehow get past that, I find they're not. Like, so yeah, giving credit where credit is... Like, Moki actually had some structural problems when I started working with him versus Sheik. And then we kind of, like, addressed a bunch of them, and then, like, yeah, the next tournament he beat J-Mook for the first time ever. And, like, granted that matchup has become more competitive again, because J-Mook's the man. But, like, it's still, it makes me, it was really like, that's kind of an example of, like, the positive, like, when Vibes players, they just give it a whirl, and they're like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to see it.
Yeah, they have to feel the vibe, so to speak.
Yeah, you know what? Tactile learners. That's all they are. Like, that's fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. So what's interesting to me is that I think you're actually playing this match significantly better than the previous one, and it's just because you're getting into his face. You see that, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's why this stage is always, the one I go to, is because it very simply streamlines the process in which I can get at the range I'm good at, which is being in their face.
Yeah, and like look at how you maneuvered around him with this platform. Like this to me is like all the like this would be, if I were looking at this independently, like this would be a huge clue that this is like that, like getting close is the goal. You didn't have this grab was like also absolutely not guaranteed. Like, but who cares? Because what are Marth's like get off me moves? If he's like having to pick between shielding and not and like anything else whenever he lands, like probably dash back like would be his next best option. Like, so if we're basically doing like something that catches a dash back and grab as our primary like offense tools on landings, like that's terrifying for him. Like that's so much of a problem. So yeah, and like look at this. Like it's all. No, this is good. This is good. This should be the model. Like, if in terms of a positive like model, this is it. I have a feeling that looking at you playing this on Pokemon Stadium will like make me not frustrated because I know what I'm getting into, but like I have a feeling we're gonna see more of like the mid-rangey stuff, which is where we have our flaws, like or where we have our problem areas. It really surprised me that you actually picked Yoshi's story, but now, like, in the crew battle, but now I completely understand why. It's because, like, it's the stage you probably do this like, the matchup, it's the stage where you play in the way where you play to your advantages in the matchup most effectively, and the stage dimensions probably have a big thing to deal with that, and you didn't understand that that's why it was doing that.
Yes, correct.
Okay, cool, so now we've clarified this. So yeah, just do this everywhere. And like on the other stages, there will be some downtime, but like in the downtime we use our mobility advantage, use your full hop, like use your dash dance, like basically movements that keep you actionable as much as possible. Wavelands are fine just because they give you forward burst motion and like teeter cancels, like kind of like clean up a lot of the inefficiencies there. But like, because like again, if you waveland, like if you were like where Marth is and you like waveland forward here, you're not actually committing to 10 frames here. It's only like 3 or 4 or whatever, right? And that's nothing. But like, yeah, so that's why I'm drawing that distinction. But wave dashes, like, yeah, wavelands are better than wave dashes. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Wavelands are so crazy.
It's true.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I'm like, this comes up a lot when I perform well in this matchup. Is I almost feel like, in a way, this is oftentimes how I break that ice between like the range that Marth is good at and when I'm performing well. Is A, when the stage does it for me sometimes, but also B, when I'm doing a lot of like random like wavelands out of like full hop and whatnot, and making Marth like unsure like where I'm gonna end up in the next moment, because sometimes like I perform well only literally strictly on the basis that Marth thinks I'm going to be in location A, and I just end up in location B, and it makes it awkward for him.
Well, no. So, like, let's actually expand on that. I know we're at the hour, but whatever. I'll just charge Monk more money. It's all good. But let's actually talk about that for a bit, because you just touched on something pretty important. So, what do you think? How easy do you think it is to react to Fox jumping short, like with short hop, full hop versus dashing forward? Like if you dash back here, like let's say instead of shielding here, let's actually rewind this a bit. Let's say that you're coming forward this run. If you short hop versus full hop versus just keep running forward, how easy do you think that is for Marth to react and defend against like all three in a way that overlaps all three?
Oh, not at all.
Yeah, it's not possible, because the things that you need to do versus the ground are different than the things you do versus full hop, and short hop's kind of like the midpoint between those, where there is overlap between full hop and short hop, but there isn't overlap between like, there isn't overlap between the two extreme options, and they all happen like super fast. Mm-hmm. So like this is another dimension of how you get in, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so of course that works. Like that's not like them being random. It's just that it's strong. It's a natural mix-up.
Yeah, I meant it more in terms of like when I am full hopping, doing things like waveland in, or like waveland out. Like those are weird ones too, because I can be after landing in such a wide range of areas, and then Marth kind of has to pick in order to place me in the mid range where he's strong at. He has to like pick a place to be. And oftentimes, if he's wrong, I just end up where I'm strong.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it kind of, yeah.
No, that all makes perfect sense. Because, like, yeah, like, if you were to, like, full hop here, like, hypothetically, like, you do this, and I know that it's like slightly higher. Fine, we'll fix it. But like, let's say you land here, right? And you're gonna go in for, and Marth thinks that you're gonna go in for drill, because drill is a pretty reasonable thing to go for here. But if you waveland back, and he responds to this like in the way that you would versus a drill if he were to dash back here, like, which is basically he goes here, and then he turns around and turns around and puts his hand out. Well, you wave landing back here, like back into like this spot here, he's now missed you completely. Like, he's probably dash, jump, cancel, grabbed forward. A lot of them don't actually pivot grab here just because like it helps cover the drift back. So if he like if he does that forward here as we expect him to, then like we've created a bait that's like pretty solid for like the main response to this move. So we're just like creating like yeah, it's just layered offense. That makes perfect sense.
Right, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. See, like more of these things. Because then like because the other cool thing here is then like if we think about how our short hop works, like we have the option to do it like this, but we also can like, you know, if we wanted to hypothetically, we could also like this, like short hop waveland back is a classic bait in this matchup. So yeah, like same idea. Yep. You have the same options, except short hop also gives you the option to like double jump over him and stuff. Like we have a vertical mix up here, and all of this can be in the backdrop of like you potentially like just running full forward and shining him, or backing out and saying I'm actually gonna switch to dash dance, because even though you're entering run around here, you can also just like run, walk forward for one frame, and then book it. So you're not committed to any of this. None of this is real. All of this is implied. Like, you are an extremely flexible character with a bazillion threats in like various angles and directions, because you are the best character in the game. So let us play like we are the best character in the game and not like Samus.
Right, I understand. Okay. Yeah. There is no reason to try and be forcing this thing, the issue in this one spot where I am simply good everywhere else too.
Yeah, like, we're so above that. We're Fox. Like, we're literally Fox.
All Fox like, I'm Fox. Like, for the lower characters can deal with this.
Okay,
from my throne.
Okay, to be fair, I think the gap between Fox and the next best character is like not actually. It's slightly bigger than like the second best character to like the third, or the third to the fourth. Like I do think that like 2 through 4 are pretty tight, and then there's like 2 through 5 are pretty tight, and then like 6th is like there's a bit of a drop, but I still think he's better than the characters below him by like a pretty significant margin. I think Fox is not as severe as 5 to 6. I think he's, and I think he's like a little bit more than like 2 through 5, but I also don't think it's so much that like he should be in his own tier or anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's Fox, then Marth, then probably like Sheik, Puff, Falco, and then like Falcon. Something like that. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But I don't think he's like that much far and away better, because of, again, he has, while he does have like an answer to every like play position on stage, like any playable position he can play with offense and defense usually, that's his superpower. So he has like literal buttons in every spot that just are very good. But he also dies if you touch him. So that is a pretty big weakness. Like, you're probably dead here. Okay, the Marth sucks. Okay, never mind.
That's good.
It's just like, oh yeah, like this is over. You just got hit at like 50. It's like, okay, yep, no, life is fleeting. But you see what I mean? Like, we're going back to the wave dashes. So what we need is more flexibility in this spot. That's like the #1 thing.
Yes.
More flexibility, okay. And then just play like once you're in a distance that's like fighting on Yoshi's, play like you're on Yoshi's. You got this.
Makes sense. All right. That definitely makes sense. I think that transition between that laser range and getting into that and breaking through that mid range into that close range is like obviously the hard part, and the part that I've obviously been playing the poorest, because I just put myself in the mid range and pray I can get through. But no, that does make sense. I have to be a little bit more creative with kind of using that, like busting through the range, so to speak.
Yeah. So I think that you have the things that you need to work on. Like, these are pretty high level these are pretty broad concepts, but I think one of the things that you have to look forward to is Pokemon Stadium is going to become like a much more manageable level. Same with Dreamland. Battlefield won't be so confusing as to like, why do they keep going here? Like, I don't get it. like you'll also start to notice how Battlefield's congested platform layout can actually be quite good for offense, I think. Because you tapped into like how you can kind of climb with the combos there, and I think you're going to be like once you start snowballing and like pressuring there, you're also going to notice how the platforms act as a roof above him and below him, so you can actually like work advantage states harder and create more confusing traps for him when you're kind of recovering out of things. Because again, like he goes for up tilts a lot. So if we're not as afraid of them, we have the ability to like kind of bait them more using just like, because again, our short hop goes barely over his up tilt. So if we will sometimes die for going for this, but we will also get out some of the time for going for those kinds of baits. So then we're contesting him more effectively in his power position, and that feels really good. Because if we can do that and take some of the consistency away from him, remember, Marth is a character who lives and dies by consistency because he doesn't have real finishers. So if we even take away some of his like spots where he normally deletes us, even though it's not real because we've technically gotten out, like that wreaks havoc on him, like as a character mechanically, because now he has to win more mix-ups, and for players because they're like, oh my god, this was like a wrap. I had him. It was over. Yeah. And then it's like, no, it wasn't. Like, calm down. But like,
I get it.
Yeah.
People living to 150, turmoil for sure.
I honestly like every time that happened, and like they were like, man, I just don't understand what I'm doing wrong, and I'm like, I'm Ness. Like,
oh man,
it's like my heart does not have the capacity to weep for you because I am, and I cannot emphasize this enough, Ness. Like, yeah, and you are Marth. Like, we're sworn enemies. Like, hold that. I don't know what to tell you.
Cry more. I don't care.
Like, cry more, cry less, whatever gets me the dub. Like, it's
crazy.
Yeah.
True though. True.
So I think I think this is a good stopping point though, because I think that like I don't want to like I want your skill. Like I want to be clear. You clearly have some skill. You're clearly very sturdy like when you're on point. So I don't want you to like feel constrained by specific options, because I think that is the discovery process here. Like I think that like exploring full hop, especially with dash momentum, exploring the different like how you can use run to enter your dash dance at different points. And, like, just using your dash dance more liberally. And also just, like, again, short hopping over his down tilt is a tried and true, like, soft read that has led to many nairs, drills, and other goodies. So,
is it short hopping or full hopping?
Short hop over his
short
drill.
hopping.
Short hopping over his down tilt.
Down tilt, yeah.
So, like, that is a tried and true, like, that is a classic opener of the matchup. And it's like soft read opener, like when he's like moving in like longer distances. Because again, like think about it, right? If he's going through the effort of entering run, he probably has some amount of interest in doing something. I mean, like we can't know, but it is likely he has some amount of interest in doing something that was not accessible from dash, because entering run in and of itself is a higher commitment. So this is probably a reason he's committing harder, right? But like that. Those types of small inferences will start to gain a lot more value as you like flesh out the other movement paths, because again, like we said, he can't cover all of them. So play to your strengths and like use your like when needed, use lasers. Do not enter laser mode. That is the one tip I will give. There is no such thing as laser mode. All you have is like your normal combat stance, like normal combat movements, and like a laser that you've peppered in here and there. But, like, you don't want to make it, like, a habit of going... Like, if you do 2 in a row, that's usually a bad sign. Like, 2 short-hop lasers in a row, that's usually a bad sign.
Right.
Because, again, all he needs is 1 hit, so we need to stay loose. So that, I will say, is a concrete thing that I would make sure to, like, make kind of a... at least for now, a rule. You'll, like, learn when you can do 2, like, as you get used to it. But I think that is really all I want to give you, because I think that it is important at your level to kind of, like, use these solutions. Like, the learning process is so valuable with new strategies at this point, because there aren't many of them left that you haven't probably at least touched on, like, at least in some capacity, or learned, like, the basics of, or been taught the basics of. So I think that, like, this is, the insights will be more valuable if you just, with, like, the little I've given, and if you just really dig into it as much as you can.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. I think ultimately, like, obviously don't have access to a setup right now. I get home on Monday. However, I think my plan here, like in the immediate actionable, is to probably gonna sit down. Don't mind me dumping a couple of DMs in your inbox in order, because I'm probably just gonna label those screenshots so such that I can remember what we were talking about when they came up.
Yeah.
And then when I get home, I'm probably going to look at those and attempt to sit down with my friend who is a Marth, maybe a Marth that maybe even Acidic's the one from the set. I do talk to him sometimes. And I'll probably sit down and just try and experiment while mindfully working in like these range differences that we were talking about, such that I can then move them into the less mindful spot in my brain, if that makes sense.
No, that
Like,
no, that absolutely makes sense. So basically, you're going to go through the proper through a very tried and true, like, effective learning process to, like, consciously apply these concepts, and then, like, sort of gradually, like, phase them out as you get more used to doing them automatically. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect.
100%.
Love it. One thing I'd recommend for that, actually, try establishing the spacings against a computer, Marth, first. So, like, just see.
Oh, interesting.
Just practice, like, moving between these different zones, and like how, and like think about how it and like just like the movement of it, and then when you play your friend, see if you can like just trust yourself to go for those spacings. Like, clear your mind, don't focus on it, like make a commitment to yourself, like a quick comment or something. You have to say it or it doesn't work, though, about how we're going to try to work on the new things. Or, no, how we're going to work on the new things. Not what we're going to try, but we're going to.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah, and then just clear your mind and just see what happens. Don't focus too hard on forcing it, because we want this to, like, the one thing I want to do is I want to get you out of your head when you're playing. Like, that's a very high priority, because I think that is, like, limiting how much you're actually intaking from the games. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I believe that, yeah.
Yeah. So, can I count on you to, can I count on you to do all that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. That makes sense.
No, not I think so.
Okay, yes, you can. Thank you.
Perfect. More decisiveness is a good place to start. This has been lovely, though, and I am very excited to see what you do with this. We should get some games sometime, perhaps.
Oh, for sure. Let me know.
I will. Later, Tat.
All right, cool. Appreciate it. Later.